Another question from our audience. It's from Nico Arbilo. Do you think urban agriculture will serve a big role in densification of cities? If so, what do you think will happen to rural farmers and conventional farming that support cities?
I'm looking at my window now. My plants are all dead.
So I did a critique with Florian for NUS about this recently, and the thing is like you know architects are always like enamored with urban farming. I think it's a good therapeutic practice as a hobby and all that, but I don't think it should be done on like a massive scale, and I don't think it's cost efficient also. And at the end of the day, the more you do that, the more livelihood you take away from our farmers and the countryside, and the more you encourage migration to the city. So it's like kind of like a self-defeating thing because you're taking away their livelihood, right? And so now you're asking them to just come to the city also. And so maybe it's not this. It's almost like this idea against globalization, wherein would you rather, I don't know, plant something inside, let's say, Detroit than import like a vegetable or a fruit from the countryside or something like that, or even from Africa, right? So how do we balance society if it's always just one part that we're trying to build up and then trying to destroy the livelihood of the rest?
My counter argument for that was probably um, there is a sustainable aspect if it's a circular economy of a neighborhood, a smaller scale, but you cannot push it too much to a scale that it will serve the whole city. I think in a way it's just like that, where you will be able to self-sustain a bit, a community, a family, some sort. Sorry, Fum, baka hindi ka green thumb. That's why your plants are dying. But
No, but then I guess the term buck is augmentation, not
yeah,
not sustain,
Indonesia,
not
yeah,
sustain, right? It
Yeah,
augments
augmentation.
them.
augment, yes. I agree with that. Augmentation. So the crux of the problem again is where we have to resolve the technology of agriculture in the Philippines and the supply chain of that as well. I think that's where it is. It's out of the scope of the architects, but we are good thinkers. We can always contribute as well. But those are things that we have to probably develop as well. But I'm game for urban farming, but you cannot make this. I don't think you can. You have to make a full-fledged facility and then really make it to support a full city. I don't think that's it creates that ano naman parang isolation again. The
And it's not commercially viable.
yeah
Like they keep saying vertical farming, right? And I think the one where it really works right now, maybe one of the few places, is in the Dutch are making it work. But they're not doing it inside the city centers also.
yeah
They're doing vertical farming, in the periphery or outside, right?
yeah.
Outside.
So it's like a bad argument also.
If you improve transport, if you improve supply chain, if you improve the technology or productivity of agriculture, we're good. You know,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, the common complaint that I hear is yung farm to market roads.
Yeah.
Isa sa mga problema yun.
So
Yeah,
yun.
so sa amin naman iba yung
Ang
context.
sagot lang dyan para makonsensya sila is don't steal the livelihood from the farmers.
Aris, go ahead, man. Aris.
Sorry.
But
No,
Go ahead.
iba yung context naman namin dito sa Benguet or dito sa Baguio in general because one is the lack of space and because only dito ang vegetables and agriculture here is at a premium. Compare it to lowland vegetables like rice, lowland vegetables, they are cheap. But ang dito sa because of the scarcity of our land and there are only a few things here that grow only here. Let's say specific types of lettuce only grow here at a certain elevation or cabbages, carrots. They won't grow sa lowlands like potatoes. So at a premium yung land namin dito. But because of constraints of land, dito sa amin it's feasible. It's feasible and it's most probable. It's happening already. We have farms within the city center. We even have farm kami mismo. We have a farm dito mismo. So we have urban farming already present within the city. because there are no there are restrictions in farming, but because people here are more, I guess, uh, there we do not follow the CLUP, so it's a good thing as well. Mixed use talaga kami. So there's a pig farm there. Of course, then you smell yung ano. So it's a chicken farm right in the middle of the city, a pig farm, and somebody planting vegetables. So nung pandemic, we had no problem with food. Uh, we had a surplus of food within the city itself, because there were urban farms within the city. So iba yung context naman namin.
Yeah.
Yung context namin. Plus, our vegetables are more profitable than the lowland ones.
Yeah, I remember when I was young, like whenever I go to Baguio, my parents would say buy vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hanggang ngayon.
But right
Until
now,
now.
yung vegetables majority of the profit of the vegetables got are done get are
Sellers.
from ano lang, mid market sellers. So yung mga middlemen,
Traders.
they have the lion's share of the.
That's why. Supply chain nga.
Yeah.
It's really a supply chain issue.
So
Yeah.
wala na tayo doon.
Wala na, hindi na architect yun.
So, yeah.
Okay. Next question is, do you think reviving or reconstructing heritage is a good idea just to complement the remaining or surviving heritage in the Philippines, especially the significant places like Binondo?
No.
Where?
I don't subscribe to new classicism.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Bakit?
preserve the old, but
Yeah. Preserve what is existing, what's left. Try to protect them, but once they're lost, I think pabayaan na yun. In fact, as an example, ako, I don't agree yung reconstruction of the churches, halimbawa sa Bohol after they were
destroyed.
down, no? I mean, yeah, if you talk about authenticity, that's not authentic anymore. Plus, I mean, they're dead, kumbaga. So, I mean, let's just protect what's left. In fact, not necessarily luma is significant, no? Kasi again, minsan again may shallow perception or understanding yung public about it, or even architects na basta luma. Ano yan, no? Not necessarily, no? So, I mean, again we have to determine the significance of this, or what's left, the structures that left, and then protect them. Those that have been lost, wala na yan. So, I mean, sadly, it's sad, but
Yeah, there's a narrow case of buildings that will need reconstruction. Sinasabi ko, very narrow. I would agree that we do not reconstruct and rebuild something that has been lost already. But there is probably a very, very narrow case for reconstruction. And if it's really, really culturally important, if it's really very, very important to the people, that, if it talagang very narrow case that we reconstruct something and rebuild it, so that, let's say, take for example what happened in Korea, yung their forbidden palace, they reconstructed it back in the 90s, or practically all of their heritage is all reconstructed, because most of their heritage was like decimated by the Japanese. And it's important for them as a culture, as a to reconstruct it, because it was for them, it was really part of their identity. Now they recognize, para sa kanila, sa mga Koreans, they recognize yung reconstruction as a part of as part of heritage, because of their experience. It was very traumatic sa kanila nung inubos yung kanilang heritage. So yeah, in that case, you might say in their context that's permissible, or that's okay.
Yeah, I think
so,
national landmarks are an exception, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like
Yeah, of
Notre
course.
Dame. You're not gonna
Of
let
course.
Notre Dame. You're not gonna tear down Notre Dame.
Yeah, yeah. So it's something. Ano, it's really a narrow case.
Yeah, there's a certain line with conservation where of course foam is much more adept. But as you mentioned, foam, hindi naman kailangan pre-Hispanic lang or the
No.
old ones. I mean, there's really certain things that are very significant. Case in fact, I mean, there probably there's a certain with fellow colleagues and students, graduates alike. Um, certain study and appreciation of history is actually very crucial in leading in terms of projects. For example, we did a restoration a bit. I mean, how to retransform a 1960s building here in Cebu. I when the client would be able to say it's not really a good night looking building, it's an ugly building. They say no, this is the what is the tendency of the 1960s building, and basically you can educate the client and say, oh, so there's value to this. So in a way,
Yeah.
you contribute towards the fabric, and that happened to us as well. That when there's a good friend of mine pa who redesigned the church, the interiors of a campus church in Cebu,
Mhm.
where I was so saddened when I saw it last week when they recreated the ceiling, took out all the 1970s modern elements. I was really disheartened. So that's where, of course, probably the parish priest or the priest wouldn't know what they thought that beauty was in terms of these new motifs. But I felt really sad that, and it's 50 years, basically 50 years now, 1970s, eh? No?
Yeah.
So I was so sad that that had to happen when there are only few churches or campus chapels or churches here in Cebu that has that identity, and it's gone. It's already covered with gypsum board and different, so it can still be restored, but sayang, all the gold motifs, all the green, the stained glass that was green was taken out when probably the definition of beauty of 1970s was a green stained glass character and then green terrazzo, but now it's all gray. And it's like, so yun, nawawala na yung fabric, that certain spirit. So that's I'm putting that out there in the public. Sorry na lang. But
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're saying, and protect what's left. If you people or the society really thinks that's it's really significant, it's really valuable, then they should protect it. And I think it's also I mean, somehow the duty of, or not somehow, the duty of the architect to educate its client, the public, about the value of this architecture. No, but again, to go back to the question, yeah, na nating patay yung patay, wala yung wala.
only Jesus will resurrect.
Yeah.
We should turn down projects that we're not familiar with.
No, I was just saying that we should be aware about our shortcomings and what we can or should not tackle.